All right, so guys, yesterday, like I said, yesterday we looked at stuff where it was all, as we go through this, guys, you're going to see, all right? So, we just kind of talked about this. Yesterday we solved systems that were what? Who can tell me? Those systems that we did yesterday. Maria?
Well, we were doing elimination.
We're doing elimination, okay. But what about the type of equations that we got? Did we really have to do anything to them? What do you think, Gage? Do we have to do anything to them? No. All right, explain that.
Well, we didn't really have to do like a massive problem just to figure it out.
Yeah, we didn't have to really do any multiplication or anything like that. They were already set up for us, right? One was already positive, one was already negative, same number, same sign. It had all that stuff, all right? So everything was all set up. We might have, like the ones we did at the end of the warm-up, like number 5 on the homework last night, we had to rearrange. And we talked about that. That's about as hard as it gets, right, when you have to rearrange it. But once you rearrange it, it still works out to eliminate, all right? It'll still work out. Now, yeah, and then we just used addition up and down, and we solve, right? So those were the, as far as what we're going to do this week, that was the simplest stuff that we're going to do. Now today, we're going to have to multiply one of the equations to get a variable to eliminate. All right? So we're going to have to remember how to use the distributive property. All right? We're going to have to multiply all 3 things in that equation to get it to eliminate. All right? So we're going to do a little bit extra work today to get a variable to eliminate. Unlike yesterday, where it was already set up for us. All right? We're going to do a little bit of extra work today. All right. So they call it in the book like the linear combination method. All right? But all we're doing today is multiplying one of the equations by something to get a variable to eliminate. All right, once we take a look at it, you guys are going to have a little bit better idea. All right, so as far as our steps, all right, so to eliminating a variable by multiplying in one equation only. This is how you're going to do it. So the first couple steps are going to be a little bit different from what we did yesterday, because obviously we have to multiply. So it's going to be a little bit different from what we did yesterday. All right? So first thing we want to do, we want to identify the letter that we want to eliminate. All right? Your notes. I had other notes.
No.
Like I told you at the beginning, we're going to have x, we're going to have y. All right? Every time. That's always going to be the variable we use. All right? It's either going to be x or it's either going to be y. And you're going to see, we're going to talk about this in a second, that the template that we used, we're still going to use the template. It's just going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit bigger in some spots because you need that more space, right? And there's going to be a spot on there where you can decide if you're going to eliminate x or y. All right? So, when I identify the letter we want to eliminate, now here's some hints. Say in the problem, you have a single letter, right? In both problems, you have a single letter. Let's say you have, y, y, and y in one of the problems. All right, but they have the same sign. Like it's 2x plus y equals 3, 4x plus y equals -2. Right? So you have the same number. Well, excuse me, you have the same letter and same sign. All right. We're going to multiply one of the equations by -1. You're going to see on your template, there's going to be a little box on your template. You're going to write in that box the letter that you're multiplying by. And once we go through one, you guys are going to understand. What's up, Ryan?
I'm just looking at it weird.
Yeah. Once we go through it, it'll make sense. All right. So, like I said, if you have something like this, say if you had like 2x plus y equals 4. 4x plus y equals 3. See how we got the same letter? It's a single letter, same sign. All we're going to do is multiply one of those. I don't care which one, doesn't matter. Multiply one of those equations by -1. Right? That's all you're going to do. Right? When you have this, because you're only going to the notes that we're taking right now, you're only going to have these two types of situations. You're either going to have it where you're going to have one situation where it's the same sign, same letter, and this all you're going to do is just multiply that. You'll see the little box on your thing. You'll write in -1 there, and you'll multiply everything by -1. All right. All right. Now, another trick, all right, is to multiply the equation with single variable by a number attached to same variable in other equation. All right. And we'll do, once we go through the examples, you guys will see this. All right. Once we go through one of these, so these are the only two situations you're going to get today. You're either going to have the same sign in a single variable, and you multiply by a negative, or you'll have a single variable in one and a number attached to that variable in the other one. Right? And when we go through one of these ones like this, I'll make sure I will explain to you guys how that works. So those are the only two situations we're going to get today. That's it. No other different types of problem. That's it.
Oh, crap.
But sometimes in this type of situation, the signs may already be opposite. Right? They may already be opposite. You may already have, the signs that are opposite. Sometimes you may not. So if not, make sure if they're both like positive, make sure you're dividing by a negative. All right? Make sure those signs are opposite. Everybody good?
No.
Okay. Now, good? Yes, no? Okay. What? So like I said, these are the only two situations that we're going to get today. The only two. All right, Vic, I'm going to move on, but this will still be up there, okay?
All right.
All right, next thing. We're going to multiply everything in the equation. Usually when we do distributive property, we only multiply by two things. When we're doing it for an elimination problem, we got to multiply by all three things. A lot of times, guys, kids will forget to multiply by the number after the equal sign. You've got to multiply everything, all three terms. The x, the y, and the number after the equal sign. You're going to multiply by everything by whatever number is going to get a variable to be eliminated. That's why Mr. Hager and I kind of put like a little picture up here for you. Here's your number. Here's multiplying it to the x. Here's multiplying it to the y. Here's multiplying it by just a number at the end. And most kids do okay with this. The x and the y, like I said, sometimes they'll forget to multiply by the thing that's after the equal sign, the number. All right? So I want to multiply everything in the equation. All right? And the last step, the rest of the steps are going to be the same as yesterday. All right? You'll multiply, you get everything in that middle box, do all your math, divide at the end, you'll get x or y equal to something. Once x and y equal something, you're going to plug it back in to the original equation and solve for the other variable. Just like we did yesterday. Those steps are the same. So what's the only thing different from today from yesterday? What's the only thing that's different? What do we have to do today that we didn't do yesterday? We're going to multiply, right? We're going to have to multiply one of these guys to get them to cancel out. Right? And we're only going to have two types of situations. All right? Only two types. You might get a situation where you have to rearrange like we did yesterday. Okay? But still, it'll still work out where you're going to multiply by only one of the equations. That's it. All right? So the template is pretty much the same as yesterday. The only thing is you've got those boxes on there because that's where you're going to put a number. You're going to put a number in one of those. That's where you're going to multiply by. And the spot in the middle is a little bit bigger because you've got to do a little bit more math there. That's it. Everything else is the same. All right? So let's look at that first equation. Let's look at example 1A, that first system. All right? So, that first situation that we talked about in your notes, what was that first situation that we talked about? What does it say there? The first situation we talked about in your notes. Okay, identify what you want to eliminate. What were the two bullets after that were the two situations that we're going to have? What did that first bullet say, Ryan? The first bullet we put in our notes. What did it say? Under identify the variable.
Letter, same sign.
Okay, let's look at this system. Do we have that? How many people say we have that situation here? Same number or same letter, same sign. Does anybody say we have that situation here? What letter? The Y's, right? The Y's are the same. Same sign, same letter. Okay. Victor, for that situation, what did we say we had to do? If it's same letter, same sign. What do we say if we had that situation? What do we have to do? Look at your notes. It's okay. You're not cheating. The first bullet under identify the variable. By? Careful. -1. All right, so Victor, which one do you want to multiply by -1? Which one do you want to multiply by -1? Top or bottom? Top. You can do either one. So, see the little information down here, this little hint? I'm going to multiply the top. All right, and what, Victor, when I multiply the top, what variable is going to be eliminated? I understand. What variable has the same sign and the same letter? The Y's, right? So I'm multiplying the top to eliminate Y. I'm going to multiply this top equation, and when I do that, it'll eliminate Y. What number, Samantha, what number am I multiplying by? Huh? -1. That's what I'm going to put in the box. Right? -1. Gabe, you know what I have to do now? So I've identified what variable I want to eliminate. All right? I know I want to multiply by -1. What am I multiplying that -1 to? Or with?
4. Y.
All right. Anybody know what I'm going to multiply by? Figure that little graphic that I put on your notes, right? Everything, right? I'm going to multiply the -1 by -x, by +y, by -3. All three things. I'm not worried. The bottom is all set. I don't have to do anything with that. By multiplying this by -1, that will eliminate my y. And that's what I want to do. So when I multiply -1 times -x, what do I get? x. When I multiply negative 1 times a positive y, what do I get? Negative y, good. And last thing, equals, I got a negative 3 and a negative 1. 3. Remember, don't forget the thing that's after the equal sign. All three things, negative x, positive y, negative 3. I don't have to do anything with this. All I'm going to do is just bring it over. Don't have to do anything with that. All I'm going to do is just write it. Plus y equals 2. That right there, once you identify what you're multiplying by and do the multiplication, the hardest part is probably out of the way. All right? So again, what variable is going to eliminate? The y is going to be eliminated, right? What do I do now? What do I do now?
Add up the x's, right?
Add the x's. What do I get, Rose?
5x
5x. Okay. Equals what?
equals 5.
Good. Again, just like we did yesterday, right? Do my addition up and down. Do my addition vertically. I added these, the x's, and I added the numbers after the equal sign.
X equals
I'm always going to be adding the numbers after the equal sign. Always. I'm never going to eliminate those. All right. When I get to this step, I'm always going to be adding what's after the equal sign. Here, all right, I'm either going to be adding the x's or the y's. Whatever I eliminated, obviously, is not going to be there anymore. I don't have to add that. It's gone. I don't have to worry about it. All right. And Rose, like you said, divide by 5. What do I get?
1.
X equals 1. All right? Now, Mr. Gallant, you know what I'm going to do now?
You're going to plug in 1 for x,
Which equation do you want to use?
the top.
You want to use the top one? Yeah, and because we can use the top one because we got x already by itself, right? But listen, if you use the bottom one, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. The only thing is, you have to do some multiplication there, that's all. But you're not wrong at all. All right? So what's that going to look like, Mr. Gallant, when I write that out and plug in for x?
It's going to look like 1 plus negative y equals 3.
Let's use it before we changed it.
Oh, negative 1 plus
Yeah.
y equals 5. Negative 5. Or 3.
Negative 3.
You can see it.
All right? So I plugged, my original equation was this. All right? And all I did was changed out the x. We just solved for x. X is 1. I just plugged it in. All right? Brian, do you know what to do now? How to solve for y? Yeah, right here, buddy, in that last box. It's already negative, though. I like what you're doing by moving the 1. Add 1, good. So I'm going to add 1 to 1 and add 1 to 1 else, Brian?
3.
Good man. So y equals?
Negative 2.
Rose helped you out. Negative 2. Y equals negative 2. All right? So that one right there, guys, that was the first situation we talked about, where we had the same sign, same letter. All right? And just multiply 1 by a negative, and that'll eliminate it. All right? Once you identify what you're going to multiply by, it's the same stuff we did yesterday. The same exact thing. All right?
All right, so let's take a look at this one. If you can't read it, the top equation says x minus 3y equals
You gotta write
18.
these examples down. You need to write them down.
Okay, x minus 3y equals 18. X plus 5y equals 2. Yes.
X cancels out. Right.
That's the variable we do want to cancel out. Yep, so we're going to eliminate x.
Well, that's what we want.
But if we added them right now,
Yeah, it'd just be 2x.
it'd be, right, it would be 2x. So what do we have to do to one of these equations like we did in the last problem?
Negative?
Yep, and what do you multiply by to make something a negative? Negative 1. Okay, you can pick, it doesn't matter which equation we multiply by negative 1. You guys want to do the top or bottom? Top again? All right, so we're going to multiply top equation by -1. What are we going to do to the bottom equation? Keep it the same. Okay? So since that one's going to stay the same, I'm just going to copy it over right now. X plus 5y equals 2. All right? Now, the top one, I have a -1, and you want to distribute it out to all three things. Okay? Anyone think they can tell me what this top equation is going to become after you distribute a -1 to everything? Well, Logan? Can you tell me what that equation will become?
It will become -x plus 3y equals -18.
Yeah. -18. Okay, all that happens is the sign changes on everything. The x becomes negative, the 3 became positive, the 18 became negative. All right. Now if we add these up, we already figured out which letter is going to cancel. Yeah, x's are going to cancel out.
And guys, for that step that Mr. Hager just did, we multiplied by the -1. Another way you can think of it is, all that's going to happen when you rewrite it here, the signs are going to be opposite. You just, by multiplying by that -1, you're just switching the signs. Right? So that makes more sense to you to know that. That's another way to think of it.
All right, so Kevin, if I add up my y's, what's 3y plus 5y? Yep. 8y. Okay, and Victor, what's -18 plus 2? -16. All right, so now we've got 8y equals -16. Callan, what would be my last step?
Divide.
Yep, and we're going to divide by 8. And once we divide by 8, Maria, what's -16 divided by 8? -2. All right, so now we've got y. Last thing we have to figure out is x. Okay, when you fill y back in, you always want to make sure you use the original equations. Okay, always go back to the very beginning. All right, Alex, which equation do you want to plug y back into? Top or bottom?
The top.
Top, okay. So we're going to fill in -2 right there. So we're going to have x minus 3. Okay, and what am I filling in for y, Alex? -2 equals 18. Any questions on that? All right, so next thing I have to do is multiply together my -3 times my -2. Okay, what's -3 times -2? Yep, positive or negative? Positive. Plus 6. Okay, and then after we multiply those together, what's my last step? How about, yeah, Logan?
You subtract 6 from this side.
Subtract 6. And we get, what's 18 minus 6, Logan?
2. I mean,
12, yeah. Okay, and that's it. Okay, any questions on that one? Right, so all we've had to do so far is multiply everything by what number? -1. Okay, I don't want you to think that you can just multiply by -1 in every problem. Okay, some problems you can, some problems you can't.
Sam, just give me a second to write this one down.
All right, so, yeah, Maria?
if we can't multiply by -1 in every problem, how come in the directions it says 2?
Hold on, I'm trying to hear Maria, guys. What's up?
Oh, never mind.
What did you ask though? If you can't multiply by -1,
Yeah.
what happened? What did you say?
Like, never mind. My question.
All right, let's take a look at this one. Example 1C. Do you have variables here that are the same, like an x and an x or a y and a y? Or do they have different numbers in front of them this time?
They have different numbers in front of you.
Yeah, they have different numbers in front. So what we have to do is decide which variable we want to eliminate. And to do that, you're going to multiply either the top equation or the bottom equation by something so that your numbers in front becomes opposites. Like, we could make it so like we have -6 and +6. Okay, so which letter do you think we could eliminate here somehow? Want to try to eliminate x, or do you want to try to eliminate y? Oh, Corey? You pick. We're going to try to eliminate y. All right, so if we're going to try to eliminate y, we have to make the numbers in front of y opposites. Does anybody see what we could multiply the top equation by that would make the number in front of y the opposite of the one in the bottom? 6. Okay? Watch what happens if you multiply the top equation by 6. Okay? And she got that 6 by looking at the 6 in the other equation. Victor, what's 6 times 2x? 12x. Okay, now this is the part I want you to see what happens. Okay. Ben, what's 6 times -y?
-6y.
-6y. Okay. Look what you have in the bottom equation below it. +6y. All right, so now what we just did is we made the y's opposites. Okay. We changed the x's too, but we weren't really caring about those. We wanted to try to make the y's opposite. In the last part, -8 times 6. What's -8 times 6? -48. Now the bottom equation, just copy it down right below. Okay? Sometimes you need to change the bottom one too. Okay? We're not doing those type today. For today, you only have to change one of the equations. The other one, just copy it down. 3x plus 6y equals -12. Now, because we multiplied the top equation by 6, what letter is going to cancel out? The y's. -6, +6. The y's are gone. What's 12x plus 3x? Yep, 15x. And -48, take away 12. We can use our calculator. That's -60. And my last step, Ryan, how do we move that 15 to the other side? Yep. I'm going to divide it. And -60, we'll do divide by 15. We get -4. Okay, so far we've gotten all nice answers. Don't think you're wrong if you get a fraction. Okay, fractions can happen. It's part of some problems. But generally, Mr. Roy and I try to make the numbers work out nice. Okay? All right. Last step. What am I going to do with this -4? Yep, we're going to plug it back into either equation 1 or equation 2. It does not matter. Which one do you think is easier? Equation 1? All right. So in equation 1, change x to -4. So you got 2 times -4 minus y equals negative 8. Okay, Ryan, what's 2 times negative 4?
Negative 8.
Yep, negative 8. Take away y equals negative 8. Okay, next step, I want to move that negative 8 to the other side, so I'm going to do the opposite of negative 8, which is positive 8. Positive 8. So I get negative y equals, what's negative 8 plus 8? 0. And now, what number is in front of this y, but it's invisible? It's like a 1. And yeah, we're going to divide by negative 1. And if you type that in on your calculator, 0 divided by negative 1, it's just 0. Right, so we get y equals 0. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, one thing you definitely want to avoid doing, Mr. Roy and I don't think we mentioned this, but you don't want to multiply by a fraction here. Okay, you can. It's not wrong. You can multiply by anything you want, but fractions are going to make it very difficult to do the arithmetic. Okay, so when we multiply by a number, we're going to pick numbers that are not fractions, no decimals.
And guys, that was that second situation we were talking about, where you got a single variable, but you got that variable in the other equation has a number attached. All right, so this multiply by this number in the other equation, and it's already opposite. It's already negative. What if that was positive y on the top? What would you have to do when you multiply it? Anybody know? Multiply by negative 6. If this was like plus y plus 6, the only way you're going to make up here, opposite of what's down here, is multiplying by a negative. But in this case, it was already negative. So all I had to do was multiply by 6. All right? So that was that second situation we were talking about.
Okay, and sometimes you guys might have a problem where you have a choice. Okay, I just want you to look at this. We're not going to solve this one, but let's say you had something like this: 2x plus 3y equals 4, and 4x 48. 4x minus 8y equals 1. Actually, you know what? Let's make it 9y. Okay. Here's a problem where you could choose to get rid of the x's or the y's. Okay? If you multiplied the top equation by negative 2, okay, what would this become? It would become a negative 4x. Okay? Or what if you multiplied the top equation by 3? What would this become? Become a 9y. So in this problem, you could choose which letter you want to get rid of. Right? You could either make these numbers opposite or make these numbers opposite. I think either way would be just as easy. Okay? Either way. All right, so just like we've mentioned yesterday, got to make sure everything's lined up in columns. X is in the first column, Y is in the second column, number in the third column.
Yeah, and just like yesterday, this is probably as high as it gets for today, because you got to rearrange. Once you rearrange it, you're still going to be able to multiply by either a negative 1, or multiply the single variable by what's attached to that variable in the other problem.
Okay. Looking at that, anybody see an equation that's fine? I can write it down. I don't need to do anything to it. Yeah, the bottom one is fine. So let's put that as equation 2. 5x plus 3y equals 13.
Just like we said at the beginning, on the test, on the homework, right, the system's going to be written outside the template first. If it's all set, lined up, write it in. If it's not, rearrange it first, and then you can put it in your template.
All right. Who can tell me what I need to do to this top equation to make it line up with the bottom one? Yeah, we've got to add the 4x. Add the 4x. Okay. Somebody else tell me once I do that, what's my new equation going to be? Yeah, 4x, yeah, positive 4x minus y equals 7. Perfect. All right, so now looking at it, I like it because the x's are lined up, the y's are lined up, the numbers are lined up. Does anybody see what we could multiply one of the equations by to get rid of one of my letters? So you got to look at it and think, all right, what letter and what number do I want to multiply by, right?
Y.
Okay, you're going to get rid of y. I like that. And how are you going to get rid of y? What do you have to multiply by?
3.
3. I like that. And what equation do you want to multiply by 3? Top or bottom?
Top.
Top. Good.
Nice. And that's that second situation again.
So Ryan said everything's perfect. He picked the right letter, he picked the right equation, and he picked the right number to multiply by. So what are we going to do to equation number 2? Keep it the same. We don't do anything to it. Copy equation 2 down into the next box. Okay. Now equation 1, we have to multiply everything by 3. Okay. Victor, what's 3 times 4x? 12x. Okay. Brian, what's 3 times negative y? Yeah. Well, first, be careful. It's a positive times a negative, so that's a... You want to help him out, Kevin? Yep. 3 times negative y is negative 3y. And lastly, 7 times 3.
So you just add the y to it?
Yep. You just put the y on the end, and because it was a positive times a negative, it's a negative. And then 7 times 3 gives me 21. Now, look what happens. Since Ryan said to multiply by 3, look at the y's. Negative 3y, positive 3y. Those are going to be gone. All right. Justin, can you tell me what's 12x plus 5x?
16x. Oh, wait. 17x.
Yep. 17x. Zach, what's 21 plus 13? 34. Good. And does anybody know what x is going to equal here? It's going to come out nice. Yeah. If you divide by 17, x equals, let's put it in the box, x equals 2. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, last step. We got to get y, and you guys have a choice. Where do you want to fill x in? Equation 1 or equation 2? 2? All right, we can do 2 this time. Again, it doesn't matter. You can pick either one. Okay. What's 5 times 2?
10.
Yep. Yeah, 10. Plus 3y equals 13. Okay. Gage, what's my next step?
Dad, you have to do something with y. Do you do 10 minus 13 on the part side?
So you're going to do what on both sides?
Minus 10.
Yes, minus 10.
And then it's 3.
And then you get 3y equals 13 minus 10 is 3.
Is 1.
And then y is 1. Good. Y equals 1. Right? So as Mr. Roy just said, this is the hardest kind of problem. You have to rearrange it, then you have to multiply, and then do everything to eliminate like we did yesterday. Okay, but the nice thing about these kind of problems versus yesterday, it's not like it's a totally new concept. You're still doing this elimination, and we're doing it again tomorrow. So basically this entire week is called elimination. questions on this one? All right, let's try. Do we have an example 2B?
No, these don't work problems today.
3A, that one.
All right, so we'll finish up with the word problem. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, there's not a lot of word problems on the test. There's 2, and there's 10 total questions. Okay? All right, so this one says for a large fruit basket, it has 8 grapefruit, 14 apples, and it weighs 15 pounds. Okay? So it looks like these are the 2 things I'm dealing with. Grapefruit, apples. Okay? Yeah, I would probably use G for grapefruit, A for apple. Okay? And together that weighs 15 pounds. For a small fruit basket, 4 grapefruit and 10 apples weighs 9 pounds. Find the weight of an individual grapefruit and an individual apple. All right. So let's start with this first part. 8 grapefruit. How do you think you would represent that in an equation? 8 grapefruit.
8X. 8.
Close. I like 8 times a letter, but what letter did we use?
G.
8G.
Oh, oops.
Right, so for now, I'm going to put it outside the box, and then I'll start using the template once I get my equations. So we have 8 grapefruit. How many apples in the large fruit basket? How many apples in the large fruit basket? 14. So how would you represent 14 apples? 14 apples. Now it says together, the grapefruit and the apples weigh 15 pounds. So together, what would that mean? What are you going to do with the grapefruit and the apples? Yeah, you're going to add their weights up.
Mr. Hager, let's have a last minute change to that second sentence. Let's say we have 14 apples in that small basket as well. You have a small basket. Say we get 14 in that as well. So guys, just change that. This for the second, for the small basket, you have 14 apples.
Because we want to make this a problem where you guys only have to multiply in one equation. All right, can somebody tell me again, how much does 8 grapefruit and 14 apples weigh?
15 pounds.
15 pounds. Okay, any questions so far? All right, so now what's my second equation? 4 grapefruit plus 14 apples. How would you write that? 4 grapefruit, yep, plus 14 apples adds up to how much weight? 9 pounds. Perfect, okay? Here's our 2 equations. Are they already lined up the way we would like? We have letters in one column that are lined up, letters in another column, and numbers on the right. What do you think? Yeah, so this one is good to go. Okay?
Let's change that weight in that second basket to 7 pounds.
Stop changing it.
All right, so yeah, guys, just keep this at 9 pounds.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, we're not changing anything else.
Okay.
All right, so now I'm going to copy my equations into the box so we can start using the template. 8G plus 14A equals 15. Just try to squeeze it in. I know it's a little small. 4G plus 14A equals 9. All right, so what would I have to multiply one of my equations by? And it would make something opposites. This is actually going to be like the first case. Yep. Yep, and you can pick. Okay, I think we've done the top equation a lot. Let's do the bottom equation. Okay, okay, we're going to multiply the bottom equation by -1. So what does that mean we're going to do with the top equation? Keep it the same. 8g plus 14a equals 15. What's -1 times 4g? -4g. Okay. Logan, what's -1 times 14a?
Just -14.
Okay. Gage, what's 9 times -1? And what cancels out here?
The 14.
Good. 14a cancels out. 8g take away 4g. 8 take away 4 is 4. What's 15 take away 9? 6. Last step, how do you get rid of the 4? By 4 and 4. Let's use our calculator. 6 divided by 4 is 1.5. Okay, so that means each grapefruit is 1.5 pounds. Okay, what's last thing I still need to find? I've got the weight of the grapefruit. I need the weight of the apples. Okay. I'm going to plug into my bottom equation because the numbers are a little smaller. 4 versus 8. Okay. So fill in right there. All right, what are we going to fill in for G?
1.5.
Yep, good, 1.5. Okay. Plus 14a equals 9. Okay, since we have a decimal, we're going to use our calculator. Okay, type in 4 times 1.5. Yep, we get 6. Plus 14a equals 9. How do we move the 6 to the other side? Subtract it. 14a equals, what's 9 minus 6? 3. And lastly, how do we get that 14 over? By 14. Okay, and we'll just round our answer off. 3 divided by 14. Right, so each apple weighs, if I asked you to round that to 2 decimal places, what would you write? 0.21. Most of the time, if you just made up a system to solve by yourself, because you were bored and you wanted to have fun, it would probably come out to decimals. Unless you were very, very good at making up problems, they usually come out to decimals. 0.21. So in other words, it weighs less than a pound. Okay, so your homework tonight is going to be a worksheet. Okay, tomorrow we'll finish up everything for the week. We're going to have a review day on Thursday. And you guys have your last test before progress reports on Friday.